Okay, well, I guess yeah. Okay, so this morning, let's see, just to put this into perspective, we're wandering through the big book, and we've made it all the way to page 68, which for me is absolutely one of the most revolutionary pages in the book. And it tells me a lot of things that I've been confused about all my life. And in particular, one of the things that we read, it actually comes from step 10, not from page 68, but it says, every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will for us into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. This is the proper use of the human will. So we're going to spend some time today talking about primary purpose. And I feel as a member of this fellowship, I'm experiencing how my primary purpose has changed through my time in AA. And even day to day and situation to situation. And my mind is racing, so I've got to get it to settle down. So the traditions say that the primary purpose of a meeting is to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. And you hear often people say, my primary purpose is to stay sober and help another alcoholic to achieve sobriety. And those are wonderful things. You will hear people say the primary purpose of the steps is not just to stay sober and help another alcoholic to achieve sobriety, but the primary purpose of the steps is to come to a spiritual awakening, so that we can carry a message and we can practice principles. And that's obviously much more involved than just staying sober and helping another alcoholic achieve sobriety. And so what am I trying to say here? I was at a Friday night open speaker meeting Friday night, and the guy who 30 plus years and talking about his life, what we were like, what happened, what we are like now. And at one point he said, you know, everything that's working in my life today, I learned either from Dr. Seuss or from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it was striking, because this is a man with an advanced degree, and I feel like that's my experience too. I'm not sure about Dr. Seuss, but I absolutely do believe that my life is so much better because I'm in your midst. And I know that I am so much, I handle life on life's terms so much better when I've got a primary purpose going on. I could get irritated at meetings, and when somebody says something inappropriate or somehow behaves in a way that I don't think is good for our fellowship. I even get annoyed with latecomers. But if I hold up that primary purpose, that the primary purpose of a meeting is to stay sober and help another alcoholic achieve sobriety, and if I compare is the meeting its primary purpose, and as long as I feel like yes, although it may drive some people to drink, I suppose that's possible, but then I'm much more comfortable. I'm not asking the meeting to meet a primary purpose that it's not aimed at its own stated primary purpose. So I'm afraid I'm going to ramble a lot, but I do have a theme here. So one of the things that's in the third step is a thing called levels of the third step decision. And what it does, or what I hope it does, is basically details how our primary purpose changes as we go through the steps. And so, mind, please settle down. So one of the things that has been striking for me is noticing how the third step decision has grown and changed in my life, because I am very aware that when I first went through the third step, my primary purpose was really just to get on to step 4, because I had heard you say that if I didn't change, I would drink again. And my primary purpose was not to drink again, because it had taken me to a place I hoped never to revisit. I did wind up revisiting it. I didn't drink, but I went right back to the hideous 4 horsemen: terror, bewilderment, frustration, and despair, and experienced real powerlessness over me. And I can tell you, it's one of the most terrifying moments of my life, and it lasted a couple of years, because boy, I could not change how I felt. And I would have told you my primary purpose was to feel good. I mean, I don't mean that to sound cheap, but I have been plagued all my life with what's the primary purpose of a human life, and how do I get to that, if I can even figure it out what it is. And the primary purpose of my life was basically to feel good and have a good time. I mean, I would have said that's what, and what I've learned in here is that what I was really doing was running from my fear. And one of my deepest fears has been to live a wasted life. A couple of times when I've had a brush with death, it just astounded me what the fear was. You have spent, this happened when I was around 40, and a medical situation. And the thought that was in my mind is, you've spent 40 years feeling bad about your life. And if this winds up in you dying, what a wasted life that is. And this notion of waste is something that I fear. And so anyway, back on the third step. So my primary purpose is to overcome my alcoholism by doing these steps. My primary purpose was not to develop a relationship with God. And I think to fast forward to what's working today, for the last, I don't know, 6 months to a year, I have been captivated by 600-year-old spiritual literature. And one of those pieces of literature was the Spiritual Exercises of St. Ignatius. And he starts the whole thing off with a statement of primary purpose. And that statement is, the primary purpose of your life is to love, honor, serve your Creator, and thereby save your soul. And then he lays out these 4 or 3 additional ways of doing that. Number 1 was, that's your primary purpose: love, honor, and serve your Creator. 2 was, the things of this earth are here to help you do that. And things of this earth means everything. Every created thing is here to help you do that. 3 was use the helpful things and get rid of the unhelpful things. And 4 was become indifferent. And that's the way it's been translated. You got to remember it's written in another language and then goes through these translations. But I think what it means is close to Buddhist detachment, that you get detached. You're not drawing an equation of this out there has to be this way in order for me to feel okay within. And then he says, therefore, it doesn't matter whether you have a long life or a short life, you have a rich life or a poor life, you have a healthy life or a sick life. This guy struggled with a lot of physical difficulties. Or an, this is a little confusing. What he's talking about is a social experience of being honored by others or not. That doesn't matter. That the primary purpose of your life is to love, honor, and serve your Creator. And one of the ways that we can get to this is this idea that I think we talked about it last week, that you take a piece of paper and you put in the middle of the piece of paper a better relationship with God. And then you draw a line over that better relationship with God. And then in a prayerful, considering state, you ask yourself, what's more important to me than a better relationship with God? And write down those things above the line. And I don't know what yours would be. Mine has been often the state of my life, the state of my relationships, my financial well-being. That's always been big for me. The ability to have recreational opportunities in whatever way those come through. I would really say that I don't care so much about a better relationship with God as I care about how I feel about me. I want to feel okay about me. I don't want to feel bad about me. And so I'm going to do all this stuff or try to get this stuff or get rid of this stuff that makes me feel bad about me. I was at a wonderful meeting, happened several years ago now, and when the chair asked for the topic was, and I think I've mentioned this before, so forgive me, but this fellow spoke up and he said, I would like to talk about what I would have settled for versus what I've gotten in this program. And he couldn't even finish it he got emotional. And it was just a wonderful meeting. And that's this theme of how our primary purpose changes. I would have settled for my self-hatred to stop. It's just part of my personality, and I would have settled, and that was my experience. As soon as I found out that, and I know I've said this before, that drink number 4 was not my fault, that I couldn't not take drink number 4 because I have an allergic reaction to alcohol in my body. My self-hatred stopped. It took a little while longer to learn that, well, yeah, it's not your fault that drink number 4 is not your fault, but drink number 1 is. So, once I understood that, then it was back to, constantly evaluating yourself. Any rate, I would have settled for the self-hatred to stop. And I can say to you today that I have a deeper awareness of my primary purpose. And whenever I'm feeling restless, irritable, and discontent, what I'm learning now it's telling me I've wandered away from my primary purpose. I somehow I'm not close to it. So just to jump back to page 68, what 68 says is what I think what it says to me is the writers of the book declare, we are in this world to play the role God assigns. And after that, it makes the statement that we read, just to the extent that I humbly rely on God and try to play the role that I've been assigned, behave as I think my higher power wants me to behave, I will experience serenity right in the middle of the human calamity. To me, it right now, it's the most powerful promise in the book, that I don't have to worry about the calamity. If I'm trying to play the role I've been assigned and do the best job I can, I will experience serenity. Serenity is telling me to what degree I am meeting my primary purpose as it's been assigned. And later on, it says, we never apologize for God. Instead, we let God demonstrate through us what God can do. That's huge. If I could make that my primary purpose, how differently life would feel. And it also takes me right to step 10, which is just so powerful for me. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. This is about growing in understanding and effectiveness. So understanding is a mental thing. Effectiveness is a physical thing, a behavioral thing, and I need both. And it's very similar to faith without works is dead. That if I've got the understanding, but I don't have effective behavior, it doesn't mean much. It's just mental fluff that we're always both these things, head in the clouds, feet on the ground. That means our heads are spiritually oriented, but that our feet are effectively moving through the world. This is where our fellow travelers are. This is where our work is to be done. I just love it. It helps me settle down my demands on my life. So, and I also want to tie. I don't know why my mind is. Maybe it's too much coffee. I don't know, but tie that line on page 68 to the third step prayer. Because what it says is we never apologize to God. Instead, we let God demonstrate through us what God can do. And what does that third step prayer say? Take away my difficulties, not so I can feel better. Take away my difficulties so that my victory over these difficulties, my gaining of power over my reaction to these difficulties, because that's the real problem. I lack power over my reaction. I was in a meeting yesterday that read the spiritual appendix, and we will see that we have undergone a profound change in our reaction to life. That's a definition of a spiritual awakening. I'm reacting to life differently than I used to react. And I don't need to drink. I don't need to run. I don't need to change anything. So take away my difficulties, that my victory over these difficulties will demonstrate, bear witness to, I think it says, but demonstrate God's power, God's love, God's way of life. And you know, that reading we do from the bottom of page 25, if I'm a real alcoholic, if I have the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of the disease, I only get these two alternatives. One is continuing to try to move forward based on my self-reliance, and keep getting what I've always gotten. And the other is to accept spiritual help, which is a wonderful, the fact that they use the word accept means I don't have to go find it. It's already right here. Spiritual appendix says unsuspected inner resource, which some of us call God. And so I want to go back to in the third step. Where did I put it? Oh yeah. Okay. In the study guide on the third step, so the bottom of this page says step 3, 20 pages, January 2020, and it's page 19. It goes through these levels of the third step decision. And what I'm trying to do here is to see how primary purpose changes as we go through the steps. So example here is the first level is the decision to do steps 4 through 9. That at least this is my experience. That's important for me to say, that I was making a decision to go through 4 through 9 because my primary purpose was to change enough that I didn't have to drink again. So this says, relieve me of the bondage of self so I do not have to be so miserable. My bondage of self is personal misery. I'm making a third step decision, not necessarily because I want a relationship with God, but because I don't want to drink again. That's my truth. I'm tired of my misery, and so I'm going to try this thing. I'm deciding to go through the rest of the steps. That's my truth. The second level on this little write-up is the decision to really change. And that shows up in steps 6 and 7. 4 and 5 are really, you are here. You know, we don't resolve resentment, fear, and our selfish sex conduct. They don't get resolved when we write it down and then we disclose that to another person and to God and to ourselves. Where they get resolved is in 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's when the change really comes through. So, but there are, excuse me, there are a lot of people who experience enough relief when they get through 4 and 5 that they essentially get comfortable and stop, and don't go through the rest of it. And that's okay. I mean, their lives are way better than they were before. But my experience is real change doesn't happen till I'm in amends. And then the remarkable part is it's totally an inside job. It's me doing what I need to do in order to feel better internally. It doesn't have anything to do with the other person. That's just a weird kind of thing, because my mind's telling me it's got to do with you, and it doesn't. But so anyway, decision to really change. Okay, I'm getting less miserable. I'm discovering more and more that I cannot trust my own thinking. That's been huge for me. I've always relied on my own thinking and been disappointed when my own thinking didn't get me to the truth. It's been important for whatever reason to think well of my own thinking, and I'm getting much more comfortable with my own insanity, realizing that how misguided is a huge word for me. And I'm still struggling with what is the exact nature of my wrongs. I'm a perfectionist, and I like to be precise, and it uses the word exact. It's not just the nature of my wrongs. What's the exact nature? And all I can say is that my thinking is all based on my body and my mind, and it's not based on my spirit. And I wind up getting misguided by me. Um, and actually, it's a wonderful, freeing day when I started to realize I cannot think the truth. I've spent all my life in my mind trying to meet life on life's terms, and it can't happen. And I remember, the prayer, may the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, be with you and remain with you now and forevermore, something like that. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What'd you say? What do you mean? What do you mean peace that passeth all understanding? You mean I can't understand my way to peace? Is that what you're saying? Is that what these people are saying? It's not a mental thing. It's not a physical thing. You know, Restless is of the body, irritable is of the mind, and discontent is of the spirit. And if I can get to contentment of the spirit, I'm not going to experience restlessness of the body or irritability of the mind. Um, I love Ignatius saying, love, honor, serve. Love for me, is a spiritual experience. It does not come from my body and my mind. Honor is a mental thing. It means grateful, respectful. And serve is a physical thing. I serve through my actions interrelating with my fellow travelers. So, okay, so the decision to really change, level number 2, getting less miserable, can't trust my own thinking, but I'm still working on asking God to direct my thinking. That's been, aside from accepting that my job is to play the role I've been assigned, because I've been trying to design my own role all my life, and I've been trying to gather the power to make my own role come true in my life all my life. And if you say to me, well, it says right here, primary purpose of your life is to play the role that you've been assigned. I mean, I fight that every bit as much as I fought the challenge of, on awakening, ask God to direct your thinking, and especially ask that your thinking be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. What the are you talking about? What? I'm supposed to ask this, whatever it is that I don't even know or haven't experienced, to direct my beautiful mind? Are you kidding me? And yet today I can see much more clearly that if I stay stuck in my self-reliance, I'm directing my own thinking, and there is no room for God. When I'm busy designing my own life, playing my own role in life, there ain't no room for God. It's a crowded house up in here, there ain't no room. So, at any rate, still working on asking God to direct my thinking, but at least now I'm willing to let go of my sense of good and bad. That 7-step prayer starts off with, this is going pretty good. So I think I'm willing to push the envelope here a little bit. I'm gonna let you have all of me, good and bad. I'm gonna remove my sense of my judgment about myself, good and bad, and to fast forward to the sex conduct inventory. It says We are not to be the arbiters of anybody else's sex conduct. You know, what that's saying is, I am not to judge, period. I am not to judge. And so, okay. At least now I'm willing to let go of my sense of good and bad to some degree. I am deciding to be my creator's intelligent agent. And instead of believing and acting on the self-centered, self-obsessed, frightened thinking of my human brain, whose only goal, by the way, is survival and gratification, at least for me, primary purpose of my body and my mind is to live a long life and to feel as good as it can. And I do not believe that that's the primary purpose of my spiritual self, my soul. So at any rate, let's see. So now I'm willing that you should have all of me, what I judge as good and what I judge as bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character that stands in the way of my usefulness. You know, my primary purpose is taking a serious shift. And it's going from the only decision-making point is not how I feel about me. You know, I'm not praying for the removal of these character defects so I can feel better. I'm praying for removal of these character defects so I can be more useful. What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing. And the freedom that's available from that. And it's because my primary purpose is becoming to really change. So, and then you move to this third step, the decision to be of service. So early in amends, it's on page 7-step prayers on 6 and 7 are on 76. So it's the next page and it's in the upper part of the page. And it says this about amends. It says, at the moment, we're trying to get our lives in order, which is true. That's what it says. But it says our real purpose, now that means primary purpose. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. There's as clear a statement of primary purpose as you could have. And yet you have to remind me of that. I don't see that my primary purpose is to feel better. My primary purpose is trying to get my life in order, but my real purpose is to fit myself to be of maximum service. I don't know how Bill did it and the other authors. I've got this 800-page book on writing the big book, and I've gone looking for where'd this 3rd-step prayer come from? Where'd this 7th-step prayer come from? You know, did he know anything about Saint Ignatius? And he didn't. I don't know where it came. I mean, well, doesn't matter. But it's Saint Ignatius is coming through in this thing. So my let's see, decision number 3, decision to be of service. I'm now starting to feel as I go out to make amends for harm I've done others, as though the real purpose of my life is not just to quit drinking, but to fit myself to be of maximum service to my creator and the people about me. Whoa, did I sign up for this? Is this the purpose of my life? Grant me strength, give me power as I go out from here to do your bidding. And then it's going to shift again, because at least for me, we say trust God, clean house, help others. I have to change that order. I have to clean house. I've had to clean house before I can trust God. It just happened in a different way. I know for many of us, you know, the 3rd-step decision is the decision to trust God. Trust AA, trust the steps, trust your sponsor. whatever. But the experience for me was I really had no feeling for God or feeling of the power of this thing until I was in the middle of 9 and realized in no uncertain terms that I had not pulled this thing off. I had not, my body and my mind had not affected the change that I was going through, had not given me the power to go to my ex-wife, the mother of my children, and say what for me are horrible words. I was wrong. You know, that I don't know if you remember the Fonzie trying to apologize to Richie and saying I was wrong, you know, and I couldn't get there until I realized that I would not want to be treated the way I would not want to be treated by any of you the way I treated her. And that's what brought the power to change. So, all right. So now we're up to number 4. And this is the decision to get serious about prayer and meditation, because this is about improvement. You know, you will hear people say, I did the steps, or I've done the steps, or whatever. Or they'll say 10, 11, and 12 are the maintenance steps, as if I've gotten to such an exalted spiritual position. You know, all I got to do is maintain my position, where, you know, a careful reading of 10, 11, and 12, this ain't, I mean, we have to maintain our conscious contact, but the step itself says improve this conscious contact through prayer and meditation. And then it says praying only for knowledge of the role that we've been assigned. You know, that's what that says, praying only for knowledge of God's will for me and the power to pull that off, the power to do that. So, which takes me right back to 68. We're in this world to play the role we've been assigned. So let's see what this says. Decision to pray and meditate. It starts with a decision to trust God. Clean house with 4 through 9. Now I'm going to decide to really give this thing change through a relationship with God a go. I will need to get serious about prayer and meditation. The step 10 prayer is, how can I best serve thee? Thy will not mine be done. The 11th step prayer is only for knowledge of your will for me and the power to carry that out. This takes time and it takes intent. The Oxford groups devoted at least 30 minutes to this in the early morning. And then this 7 a.m. meeting is not quite a substitute. It's better than nothing for sure, but we keep current with step 10. We seek God's plan for our lives in step 11, and we carry out that plan in 12 every day. So 10 is about staying clear and clean. 11 is saying, please direct my thinking as I consider my plans for the day and tell me what to do about whatever. And then 12 is actually doing that. So that's the last, is the decision to demonstrate our principles. That's step 12. This means demonstrating God's power, love, and way of life, which show up as patience and tolerance and kindness and love all the time, about everything, no exceptions, no matter what. Faith with works means that as I interact with my fellow travelers, I'm going to demonstrate the power of a relationship with God, carry that message, and practice the principles found in our traditions in all my affairs. This is how I can truly help others. So let's wind this thing up. So I don't know how many favorite pages I have in this book of ours, but one of them is certainly page 164, because it runs through the whole deal in about a half a page. And it says, if you will see to it, which means make it your primary purpose, that your relationship with God is right, whatever right means to you. If you will see to it that your relationship with God is right, you're going to have a great life, and you're going to be helpful to countless others. This is the great fact, and they capitalize great fact, which means this is our message. If you will see to it that your relationship with God is working, if you will make that your primary purpose, you will be able to play the role you've been assigned, and you will be able to demonstrate God's power, God's love, God's way of life, a spiritual way of life. And then it tells us how to do it, and it quickly runs through the steps. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to God and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find. That's step 12. And join us. We will be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, not the spirit of the fellowship, but the fellowship of the Spirit. And I don't know what I'm blanking on the line, but may God bless you and keep you until then. It's just fabulous. Okay, so I know I had a lot more to say, but that's enough. And so I'm going to gong this gong, and Buck's going to shut off the recording thing, and we're going to have some open discussion. And but just to wrap up, the notion of primary purpose for me is one of the greatest gifts. I mean, understanding the difference between the physical, the mental, and the spiritual, that's been an enormous gift of this stuff. And the notion of primary purpose as a way to, as something I am to pursue. And I'm just way comfortable with St. Ignatius. I just think I was, that my primary purpose is to love, honor, and serve my Creator, and thereby play the role that I've been assigned. And when I can keep that in my mind, everything goes better. I have so much more meaning and purpose and blah, blah, blah. Okay. I thank you all for your attention, and I'm going to gong this gong, and Buck's going to shut off this recording, and we're going to have open discussion. And Buck, I would ask you to help me if I don't see somebody's hand up or whatever. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and hope to see you next week.